Today we'll explain to you how to play Fictions, a cooperative game recommended for ages 14 and up, designed for 1 to 4 players with an approximate duration of 30 to 90 minutes. A complete game of Fictions consists of 3 scenarios. The first 2 are chosen collectively by all players, and the third scenario is always bid for power. The game's objective is to gain enough influence using less than legal methods to be elected as mayor at the end of the game. In this video, we will exclusively explain the common rules that apply to all scenarios. In addition to what we describe here, each scenario will have its own specific rules, which can be found in the scenario book included in the game. Setup. Begin by placing the chosen scenario in the center of the table. For your first game, we recommend using Hands Up. Create the clan deck using the 20 Level 1 Henchmen cards and place them face down in their designated area on the board. Set aside the remaining Henchmen cards under the Henchman Reserve card. Each player draws 3 Henchmen cards. Place the problem cards face down next to the board. Set aside the summary card, the starting player token, cubes, and dice. Finally, follow the specific instructions provided by the scenario in the scenario book. Game round. First, apply any specific round start instructions from the scenario, if there were any. Next, decide who will be the starting player. This one takes the submachine gun, draws a problem card, and places it in front of them. In a 4-player game, the player to the left also draws a problem card. Then, beginning with the starting player, each one performs 2 actions, or 3 in 2-player games. Actions can be used to recruit henchmen, pass, or act. Recruit henchmen. Spend an action to draw 1 or 2 cards from the clan deck. Pass. Use your action to do nothing. Act. This is the main action of the game. With it, you'll attempt to overcome the challenges presented by the scenario, problems, and setbacks. To do this, choose the challenge you want to tackle. Challenges can be found on the boards, specific cards, or problem cards, either yours or other players. Challenges specify the number of successes needed to pass, the ideal expertise required, the challenge's difficulty, consequences of passing the challenge. To overcome the challenge, follow these steps. 1. Play 1 or 2 henchman cards from your hand. Each henchman provides dice based on their expertise. If a henchman's expertise exactly matches the one required by the challenge, you get 3 white dice. If it is in the same category, you get 2 dice. If it is in a different category, you get 1 die. If a henchman is of a higher level, only one of their expertise counts. The skills of the henchmen chosen to use their expertise can't be applied. Once all henchmen are chosen, go on to the next step. 2. Roll the dice. Before rolling the corresponding white dice, you may add the red die if you choose. Once you have decided, roll all the dice. 3. Resolve the roll. The possible outcome of the dice are values 1 to 4 on all white dice. Blocked die. Also choose a henchman to receive damage. Re-roll. Allows you to re-roll 1 or more dice that aren't blocked. Each die can only be re-rolled once. Multiplier, ×2 to ×4. Multiply the result of 1 white die by the indicated value. Draw a henchman card from the clan deck. Draw a problem card. Henchmen and problem cards are drawn after resolving the roll. At any time of the round, during your turn or another player's turn, you can use henchman cards to apply their skills. Used henchmen are placed in the exhausted henchman pile. Check if you succeeded in the challenge. To succeed, you must have as many triumphs as indicated on the challenge card, e.g. 2, and each triumph must exceed the value, e.g. 4. For example, in this roll, you got a total of 7 with the dice. Your partner uses the henchman card, which adds 2 to the roll for a total of 9. You have successfully passed the challenge. If you had rolled only 7, you would have achieved only 1 success. In this case, you would place a cube in the corresponding space. Distribute damage, if any, among the henchmen you used for this action. If a henchman takes 1 damage, it is exhausted. If it takes 2 damage, it is knocked out, KO. Henchmen who didn't take damage are rotated to show they have been already used in this turn. End of turn. At the end of the turn, return all the henchmen you have rotated and apply the end of turn effects of your problem cards. Problems. These cards are placed in front of the players. To eliminate them and remove them from the game, they must overcome them. They must spend an action and achieve one triumph in the indicated challenge. Each problem will have a negative effect that applies while it's in play. Some affect only the player who has it. Others affect all players, and some apply at the end of the round. Some problem cards contain evidence. If, at the end of a round, you have 5 visible pieces of evidence, footprints, you lose the game immediately. In 3- and 4-player games, you also lose if a single player has 3 pieces of evidence in front of them. Footprints appear on problem cards and some scenario cards. Police. When setting up the scenario, place the corresponding police card and put it on the token with the uncontrolled side up. If you pass the police challenge, flip the token to its controlled side. While it's controlled, the police will remain inactive. At the end of the round, if the token is on the controlled side, flip it back to uncontrolled. It won't activate, but in the next round, you'll have to control it again. If it's on the uncontrolled side, remove the token. From now on, the police's effect applies until the end of the scenario. Henchman decks. Next to the board, there's space for 3 henchman decks. Clan deck, exhausted henchman, KO'd henchman. Revive. You can act to move cards from the KO'd henchman deck to the exhausted henchman deck in the corresponding challenge on the board. For each triumph, you can move 1 card of your choice. Motivate. For each triumph, you can add 1 henchman from the exhausted henchman deck to the clan deck. After adding the cards, shuffle the deck. Rally the clan. You can return all exhausted henchmen to the clan deck at once without using an action. However, you'll suffer the penalty described on the board. End of round. Apply the specific end of round instructions and effects of the scenario and check if the end of scenario or game requirements are met. If they are not, start a new round. End of scenario. Once the scenario is finished, all henchmen remaining in the KO'd henchman deck are removed and go to the henchman reserve deck. Then, create the new clan deck with the henchmen from the player's hands, those in the exhausted henchman deck, and those from the previous clan deck. Return the scenario-specific cards to the box and spend the reputation points earned during the intermission. Intermission. Spend the reputation points earned to acquire new henchmen from the henchman reserve. 5 points for a level 3 henchman. 3 points for a level 2 henchman. 1 point to acquire a level 1 henchman. You can also spend 1 reputation point to remove one of your henchmen, but you can only do this twice during the intermission. To choose a new henchman, draw 2 cards from the reserve deck of the desired level and keep 1. Once all points are spent, add the new henchman to the clan deck and choose the new scenario. Keep in mind that if it's the 3rd scenario, it must be bid for power. After resolving an intermission, you can save the game to resume it later. To do this, simply save the clan deck and the henchman reserve deck as they are. End of game. If at the end of the final scenario you failed to win the election, or if at the end of the round there are 5 pieces of evidence in play, or a player accumulates 3 pieces of evidence in 3- and 4-player games, you lose the game. If at the end of the final scenario you win the election, you win the game. That concludes our guide to Fictions, a highly strategic game that captures the essence of 1920s crime films and includes a solo mode. Will they manage to lead their gang to victory?